Namaste, my dear brothers and sisters. It's my privilege to welcome today Ms. Ashwini Londhe, who has been a sort of a pioneer in the area of child psychology. She is the product of prestigious universities like the Pune University, the SNDT University Mumbai, and the Indian Institute of Education Pune. She specialized in educational psychology way back in 1994 when it was a very new idea to have counselors in schools. And that is when, through her research, in fact, she demonstrated that having a counselor in a school does make a difference. And then after that, there has been no looking back. She has been a counselor in schools, she has taught psychology to college students, and for the last 6 years, she has been with an organization, Samvit Research, which runs a chain of schools, especially for the underprivileged children in Bangalore. So, welcome, Ashwini ji.
Namaste.
You bring with you a rich experience going back to about 30 years with different aspects of educational psychology and counseling school children. And your main area of focus has been the behavioral issues in children in class 4 to 7, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 to 10 also we
4
can
to 10, class 4 to class 10, which is a very important sort of period in life when they are growing out of childhood and shaping themselves up as individuals. And sort of this relatively rapid and quick reconstruction of their individuality, or rather, this rapid construction of their individuality during this period uh, is a very important phase, and same time has so many sort of risks associated because you could go easily in the wrong direction.
wrong way.
So,
Yes.
with this, maybe you would like to share some of the common behavioral issues that you find in this age group, which would be, say, class 4 to 10, would be, say, 9 to 15, 9 to
Yeah,
14, 15 years of
9 to
age.
15, 16 years. Yes. Namaste. Namaste, Dr. Bijlani ji. Uh, as I was telling you, like I started in 1994, when it was a really new field to have a child counselor or a psychologist in the school. So initially, when we started, it was like the uh, issues related with the IQ, intelligent quotient, were there, which were referred to us. And then slowly, there was a change, like the behavior pattern which the teachers have observed or the parents have really have experienced, like there are behavioral issues like back answering or not listening, or there were conflicts between the verbal conflicts which were happening between the parent and the child, or sometimes even in the classroom there were verbal fights or actual fights which were taking place. So the counselor was required at that time. That is what the school management felt about. And then we started working with those children, and there was a misconcept, or even the concept what was prevailing at that time, that those who are having low IQ, they usually end up with the fights. So because they have no other resort to work with the situation, so they usually do fight. And then there was the intervention techniques which involved the parents, which involved the teachers, and the teamwork which we introduced really helped the parents to understand that yes, there is a effect of the environment which is happening, and it is not only related to IQ as such. So there is something called emotions, there are something called cognitions, there are something called behavior patterns, even at home. Sometimes, although we were not experts, but because of the routine and their diet, what they were having for a longer time, we just suggested few changes in that, and that has helped a lot for the parents. So in initial years, they that was a pattern which we dealt with. And then after 2000, there was gradual increase in uh, like conduct disorders, then the ADHD, number of students who were suffering with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ASD in the spectrum, like autism spectrum disorder, like starting from very mild Asperger problem up to the severe autistic behaviors which were seen. And there is a trend which now even we are seeing when we are working in the school, like they are more prevalent in middle class and upper middle class students, but they are little less in numbers where it comes to below poverty lane. Now the study is going on why this difference is there, but somewhere we have found, like when we meet counselors in Imhans or when we interact with other counselors in different cities to understand the scenario over there, like what is happening in the school, how they are dealing with different issues in the school, we find that uh, there is a discord between the parent and the child, which is quite obvious, and it is seen overall in most of our cities in Bharat. It's like both the parents are working. Most of the times, it's a nuclear family. There is no support for the child, and the child actually ends up with whatever is giving him the pleasure. It's not, there is no particular restriction or filtration which is happening back home. So, children are really in need of a support at home and even in the school. Somewhere the teachers need to understand that the child needs that we feeling. It is like whatever task is given to the child, considering even the early childhood or the foundational stage now according to NEP, like pre-primary to class 3, and then class 4 to 7, and then onwards. The child needs support. He cannot survive on his own. It's like it's a teamwork, what works for the child. So that particular thing, I always, whenever I interact with the parents, it's like the initial approach of the parents is always like, you counsel the child, we are fine. So it's like always how it's like, then we have to convince the parent that he is your product. So whatever his behavior is, it is like he spends only 8 hours in the school. Rest of the time he is back in the family or the place where you all stay. So something has to be done at that particular point, and definitely we'll take care about academics, about behavioral things in the school as well. So it's a teamwork what has to go. So that particular thing and trained what we are seeing now after COVID, there is another phase which has come up uh, because of the uh, unsupervised use of net and different platforms which are available now to the students also. And they are what we call, they are uh, citizens of digital world, whereas we are the refugees. We are not the natives of this world. We are refugees. We are just trying to absorb different things, and they already are into that. So they know different ways of getting through different websites, different options on OTT, and majorly in urban areas, it is seen that uh, this Korean drama and Chinese drama is playing havoc on the students, especially from the age group where they are like 10, preteens, and adolescents. And somewhere they are unable to relate to the real world. They are living in the virtual world, which they are exposed to. So there is something which has to be there from the parents and the teachers' side, which is connecting them to the reality of life. And actually, that is leading to self harm in the higher classes. Like 8, 9, 10 students, we are observing like at least 2 to 3 children, they have some or the other pattern of injury on their body, which is like self-harming, and they are finding it uh, okay, fine. It's like it is happening, and even if we'll die, nothing much will happen to our family or to the school. So that particular attitude we are seeing that is developing in schools. So definitely, it's the time where all of us, like the teachers, parents, counselors, and the senior citizens, definitely those who are having some feeling about the school students or about the teenagers should come up together and find out the ways how to help our society right now, who's going to be the citizens of uh, like 21st century.
Thank you. In fact, what you said raises a number of questions, which could be all important. Uh, Firstly, maybe to start with, you may say a little more about the types of self-harm that the children are inflicting under the influence of some material that they're watching on the internet.
Yes. There are bruises, what we have seen on their wrists. There are cuts on the thighs. Then there are some chemicals which were found in their school bags. And we have seen even the students consuming phenyl, which was kept in the school uh, washrooms. So they just had that, like, bottle full of uh, phenyl, what was there in the school.
Well, I
So,
mean, 2 to 3 year old children do many dangerous things. You know, they put their hands in fire, or they may do anything out of curiosity because they still have not developed enough of a sense of self-preservation, and they do not know uh, what is it that can harm them.
yes,
But by 10, a child knows these things.
they know.
So, what could be the motive behind inflicting harm on themselves, knowing that these things could harm them? Especially, say, something like creating a bruise and so on. They know that it is
Yes,
painful,
yes,
and
yes.
the sensation of pain doesn't disappear just because they watched on the internet. Why do they still do it?
Uh, as I said, there is something which is pulling them towards the virtual world and they are away from the reality. Somewhere there is no connect between the family members where they are finding that, yes, this is the place where I can share my things. This is the place where I can be at comfort. Whenever I'm going through lot of turbulence because of the academic pressure, because of the travel time, because of I'm being alone at home, there is something which is not going well between the friends or among the groups. So all these things, there should be some person or somebody there who, with whom they can actually share their things, and all these things is missing. And somewhere this, as I said, this K drama, where the Korean characters, what I have heard from number of students, they are having all the comforts of their life. They are having some partner or some person to share everything what they experience, and which is not there for them. So what is the use of living? Even if I won't be there tomorrow, nothing is going to change in the family, nothing is going to change even in the school. That feeling is a lot which I have found out after discussion with many of our students.
So it's a sort of a comparison between the characters in the drama who have all the social support available as well as all the physical amenities, whereas they find that they do not have enough of these. And particularly, I think what they're missing is the human contact,
Yes.
that real human contact, meaningful contact. They don't find that in their peer group enough, and certainly the parents are not giving enough time. And the result is that, and maybe also at a subconscious level, to draw attention, to get some time from those who are not giving them time, like
Yes.
parents,
Yes.
they inflict harm because then at least the parent will uh, give them more attention.
Yes.
So to get that
It,
time, maybe they are trying to do it.
yes. Even in the classrooms, what the teachers have found out, that even if they punish the child, he happily takes that punishment because somewhere he is getting that attention. At least I am there. That particular thing is realized by some person. So that also is okay for them nowadays. So, as they usually say in like in social media or through social media or with different platforms, we are connecting to the world. But all this is virtual. Where is the real connect? That is missing. So that has to be created. Some time has to be given. And it's like when we have discussion with the parents and when we request them that at least uh, spend some time. It's like, if not necessary, can you just devote some time for your child, which is very much essential. And actually, I really want to share one of my experience or one of the clients with whom I was dealing. The child was showing all this self-harm, like injuries and on the hand, on the wrist, and even on the thigh. When actually we got a deep cut, we saw the deep cut, and we asked him like, "Why you haven't consulted the doctor? Have you taken anti-tetanus injection for this?" And he said, "Nobody knows about this." And we called the parent, and the mother came. The father is a scientist in one of the government organization, and the mother said that she is also working. She has her own career. She cannot devote time to her only child. So that was the situation where we actually worked more with the parents, both the parents, where we actually made them realize that he is totally dependent on you and he's missing you. So that type of connect was missing, and somehow with a lot of efforts we could connect that, we could create the bridge. And yes, now the child is completing his 12th, and he is back with the family. So that was the thing, but it took a lot of efforts even for the parent to come back to the concept of family, like we have to be together. So that feeling was missing over there.
You had earlier made an important point that the behavioral issues are in fact more common in the better off people, the
Yes,
higher socioeconomic strata than in the underprivileged,
yes,
those who are living in slums, etc. Could it be because those who are economically better off are the ones where both the partners are working and they're not able to give enough time, whereas the underprivileged, very often probably the women don't go to work, and therefore, at least from the mother, the child is getting more time. And because of being huddled together in a slum, actually they have a more sort of interaction with the peer group, and they can play games in the evening and so on. And they may not have enough access to smartphones, and
yes,
uh, they may not be still watching the same type of K drama and all those things.
yes,
So there are two factors at work probably. One is the parents being able to give more time, and
yes,
the other hand, the in the case of these underprivileged, not watching much of what is available on the internet.
yes. Actually, there are two types what we have seen in even in underprivileged, that the parents are not much aware about the psychological or behavioral issues as such. But when we make them understand, they are ready to take all the steps which we usually advise. Maybe because they are not aware of disagreements, like the ideas of on which they can disagree with us, or maybe they are really worried about, like, he is their only hope or she is their only hope, where if she completes her education, whatever, 10th, 12th, or graduation properly, he can be or she can be added support for the family. So that concern also what we have seen, because in many underprivileged families, both the parents are working. The mother is working as IMI in any of the schools, or even make maid in some apartments or somewhere. And the father is security or carpenter or plumber, or he's working on daily wages wherever he gets. So no support is there even in those families. But that concern what we have seen, at least they are agreeing and they are ready to do whatever we are asking them to. So that is seen. And otherwise, the other extreme in the underprivileged road, we have seen that they are least bothered. We are busy, madam, you do whatever you want to. So that approach is there. So at least there is no disagreement, or whatever we are doing, we have a free hand and at least we can pull the child back to the normal stream. So
So in the underprivileged also, so even when both the partners are working,
yeah.
they may not be able to give too much time, but whatever little time they are given are in that sense quality time,
Yes.
because it is full of that motivation, that uh, energy,
Yes.
that they have some expectations from the child,
Yes.
which the child is will be able to fulfill only if the child is able to do well in school. So that ambition for upward social
Yes.
mobility is what, and we hope that this type of mobility will be something which they will get through the child.
Yes.
So therefore, they are paying enough attention to the child, whereas that is something that is taken for granted by those who are more
Yes.
privileged. Again, you also said that, particularly, I think it's among the more privileged sections of the society, that they sometimes see that what we are doing is all right, and if we are not doing certain things right, it's because we can't help it. We are too busy with our careers,
Yes.
and therefore they hand over the charge, sort of they delegate it
Yes.
to the counselor.
Yes.
Now you take care of all the problems that the child has. But I think among them also, you might have seen some parents, I find,
Yes.
off and on, who go to the other extreme. When anything goes wrong with the child, they get too worried about where I went wrong, what is it that I have done wrong, and they develop a deep sense of guilt that it all happened because I didn't bring up the child properly. So, what do you do in those cases?
Yeah, it's like there was one case. This class seven child was there. The girl was there, and she was into some behavioral issues, especially some arguments which were happening almost on a regular basis with the parents and even with the teachers. That girl was back answering. That girl was not listening. So the mother actually went through all the. She herself, the mother herself, is a teacher, so she went to all websites and network accesses, like what has happened to my child, and she has come out with the problem. What we call like they are totally behaving in some other way, which is not accepted or which is not expected by the parent. So, is there any serious issue? That was the reaction of the mother when she met me. And then I said, no, it is just some preteen issues which are bothering the child, and you have to just have a positive and cordial relation and communication with her that will help. And she was so anxious, even with the communication part of it. So she used to ask me, like, what should I talk to her now? Like when she is argumenting with me, what should my role, or what should how should I respond to her? I said, be casual like a mother. That's it. That is what is required. Just listen to her and what you feel. It's like always we have seen that the parent has the final say on anything. I'm saying, and that's final. So give some time, give some justice to the intellectual potential what the child has. Let them think critically about the situation. Usually, class 7 onwards, like the children of 13, 12 plus, usually, they have their say in many things because they are being exposed to so much of information. They also think differently than the parents or than the uh, peers or even the teacher. So let them have a chance to think and just have that particular thing told to the parents or to the teachers, whether to accept it or not. Let it be with the authority person, but at least let them express themselves. Like, this is what is my idea. So that can be definitely a point where the child feels that I am part of the family, It's like nobody is at the center, everybody is in the circle, and we are just sharing everything. So, that particular feeling, especially in the privileged classes, privileged families, yes, they understand this particular idea that let everybody be part of the circle. Don't sit or don't give any authority to any person sitting at the center and directing the others. Let's hear everybody, that whatever their ideas are, because I always personally feel that the child is a product of that family. So whatever values, whatever ideas, whatever concepts I am following in my family, the child has learned it. So throughout these years, he has learned it. So definitely, when the child expresses something, if I give the child some chance to express himself, he'll come out with different ideas. And then I have a chance to shape that particular idea in the way which is accepted by my families, which is fit in the value system, what I follow or what we follow as a family. And the child feels that, yes, I am perfectly fit in this particular group. And that is quite more comforting for the child.
Well, the child looking at things differently as compared to the authority figures like parents and teachers is not something new. This is what we have been calling the generation gap. But firstly, I mean, it perhaps has taken new forms because as the environment changes, as the world changes, the shape that, the form that this same gap acquires can change. And also, maybe the gap has widened. So, would you like to comment on both these? I mean, what are the current forms of this gap and whether you really think it has widened?
Uh, somewhere uh, I feel that is not widened as such, but somewhere uh, everybody is trying to pull down the curtains for themselves. They are sitting at that point. Only thing that they are being little self-centered. So they just have to open up, at least with the people who are really close together. So that definitely can be it is, as I feel like it is not a generation gap totally, because the parents are also trying to come up to the level or up to the place where the child is standing. Maybe with the help of gadgets, maybe with the help of new ideas. And the child also is trying to come back somewhere, like accept me. Only thing that because they are standing with some curtains around them and the child is really not sure about that. So I don't call it generation gap, but I would really like to know in details about this generation gap.
The child also actually wants harmony
Yes.
and is seeking a bit of approval or validation, it's called. And that, in fact, I mean, essentially it boils down to, as you have been emphasizing, healthy communication
Yes.
between the parents and the children. And probably it cannot begin at the age of 10. The foundations probably have to be laid much earlier. So, would you like to say something about how parenting before the age of 10 can influence what will happen at age 10?
Yes. Uh, in the earlier stages, actually, I always feel like when the baby is born, since then the baby is like a sponge, what all the researchers and all the elderly people they say that the child observes, the baby observes everything. Even the stories of Abhimanyu and otherwise are there in our scriptures. But still, when the baby is there in our hands, since then, how we cajole the child, how we cuddle the child, how we behave with the child, everything matters a lot, and the child feels that. The baby feels that. And since then, yes, it's like how we are dealing with each other, especially the elders who are in close relation with the baby, how they are interacting with others. It is very important from that day when the baby is born. And since then, if the baby is feeling that comfort, we have seen that there is a positive change in the child's approach towards everything. And even if there is any anxiety in the child, or if there is any anxiety in the family, and if some person or some individual efforts are taken to overcome that, definitely it matters a lot for the child in long run. Usually it is been said that, see, whatever the child learns from the family or learns from the close relatives, it is reflected in his personality for a long run. So if I am really into child rearing, if I really feel that yes, this child is a part of our family and we are responsible for his growth and his development, then all side efforts, if we take it from the beginning, definitely we can bring a very healthy child as such in the society. And the child also will be comfortable in facing different challenges which are coming on everyday basis. It's like what we see usually when the child enters the classroom, formal classroom in the school. Usually the child will be crying a lot, and the teachers usually ask the parent to sit outside for some time. That also matters a lot for the child. And we have seen that many parents, they just drop the child to the classroom and they just go that we are busy, I have to reach my office at this time. And you are making that child totally insecure, because earlier, even at home, it's a comfortable, cozy environment where the child spends all his day. There is some ayama, there is aji, there is some other elderly person with whom the child is attached since long, and he feels that comfort with that person. Whereas when he comes to this formal system of education, there is one lady who's standing and giving instructions or watching how the baby is crying, and there is nobody who's closely related to me or comforting me is around me. That creates a lot of anxiety. So usually those children, we have seen that they take a longer time to adjust well with the class. And they, it's like there was one case. If I have some time, can I
Sure.
just say? There was a child in the pre-primary section. He was in LKG of nursery system in one of the schools. And the child, I had seen when I entered the school premises for some other work, and I saw that child fell down. I went and helped the child, and he was bleeding. He had some injuries on his knees. So, and the child wasn't crying at all. It was bleeding. And I just asked the child, "Are you not feeling any pain or something?" And he said, "No." So I was a little taken aback, like a 3.5 or 4 year old child. Usually, when get any single bruise, he usually cries or tries to catch the attention of others. And then I asked the class teacher, like, how is he? And she said, no, he is a very brave child. Actually, he had 2, 3 times he fell down and he got cut or something, but he didn't cry. I said, didn't you feel any different behavior at that time? She said, no, he is brave. And I just admired him and I applauded him in the class. And I said, then I asked the teacher, can you just fix one appointment with the parents? He said, why? There is no problem. There is no issue. Why should I? I said, out of curiosity. I just want to know the child's background. And when I interacted with the parent, I found that the child, uh, the parents used to drop child to the school at 8, 8:30. 12:30, his grandparents from the father's side, they used to pick him up. Around 1 o'clock, he'll be back home with the grandparents, Dada Dadi. 4:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock, Nana Nani used to pick him up. He used to go to their place. Then by 9:30, his parents used to pick him up, and he will be there in the family with the parents at a different place. And morning, the parents will drop him to the school. So the day was actually divided in kind of 6 hours or something like that for the child, where the child actually was doing that since he was 1.5 year old. So he wasn't settling down at any place. I said, haven't he spent any complete day, any festival or any special day in the family where he spends the complete day with one set of people in one place? He said, no. And there is no problem. They didn't find it. I said, can you please consult any psychiatrist or developmental pediatrician or a neurologist, because I am little concerned with the child's development. And then they said that actually he was very blunt to the sensations, because every time when he was getting shifted from one place to another, he was actually suppressing his emotions of getting connected with that particular place and that set of people. And the treatment was given to the child, and now he actually reacts to any pain whatever happens to him. So that actually is one thing what I felt like, uh, if I give a proper environment to the child, then the child becomes a completely healthy person when he grows as a young adult or somewhere like that. And if I'm not giving a proper conducive environment for the baby or for the child since the beginning of his developmental stages, he is not uh, a person when he grows up to whom we can say, yes, he is a normally or properly developed young adult or adult.
That's really a very interesting and perhaps a rare type of a history, because sometimes we feel that if we outsource the care of the child, especially at an age as early as 1.5, to a creche or some institution, we outsource it to an institutional setup, then that may do harm to the child. But if the child is being left with the grandparents, and they are grandparents, love is proverbial, we dote on the grandchild. But if they are also doing it as a sort of a job to be done, 3 hours a day, and then another set of grandparents will pick up the child. So they are doing it as a job with some love, but all the same, it's the insecurity that the child is feeling, that I'm being just sort of abandoned by one set of adults to be left in the care of another set of adults, and this is happening so many times in a day. That itself can be very traumatic for the child. So this feeling that a 1.5 year child, or even a younger child than that, who are also sometimes left in institutions or with relatives. Uh, all that the child needs is that when the child is hungry, the child should get food, and when the child wants to sort of ease himself, then there should be somebody to change the diapers and take care of the toilet training. So that is all what the child needs. That's actually a gross underestimate of what actually the child needs. The child needs much more than that. And then the process has to begin very early. As you said, we of course have in our traditional sort of stories, uh, which are probably historical in nature, like that of Abhimanyu and so on. But then that is something which the mother has also talked about, that true learning and true sort of maternity begins even before the child is born. So the child starts learning while the child is still in the mother's womb. And after that, again, of course, uh, it's a big important for the child to develop that sense of trust and a sense of easy communication, which is born out of genuine love and intimacy. And as you said, it has to be casual. The counselor doesn't have to tell exactly how you have to talk to the child, and then the parent has to rehearse several times. This is what the counselor said, and therefore this is what I should do to the child. It should be something very spontaneous, which is coming from that love, intimacy, and is sort of feeling that this is the most important thing that I have to do, and therefore time is no problem.
Yes.
You're not thinking that, well, I have 10 minutes for the child, let me see how I can use them in the best possible way in terms of how the counselor has guided. Now, that is not the way to bring up a child. So, and that process has to begin early. And if the child develops that trust, that this is one person who will do anything for me. This is one person whom I can share anything with, then if that process is built up during the first 10 years, then after 10, at least the communication will be easy. The conflicts may be there, the arguments may be there, but at least the child will listen to what the parent says. Yes. And of course, the uh, precondition is the parent should listen to what the child says. So if they are both ready to listen to one another, to each other, yes, then it is done. And they are listening to each other because they are so used to it. For them, it is natural. And they know that at the root of all these arguments is mutual love, intimacy, and trust. So that is what ultimately it comes to. Yes. I think with this, we can uh, work towards winding up this conversation. And I'll leave you with the final messages and ideas and thoughts that you would like to share.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say one thing. It's like mm, the child is totally dependent on us, adults. So try to give that love, care, intimacy, which is required for the proper development of the psyche of the child. And the other thing is like teach the child when he grows up as a late child or in late childhood or in pre-teens. Just give the child the space what is required and have all the confidence in the child and in your upbringing, which is definitely going to be a very helpful factor for the development of the child, especially in this world where he has been exposed to so much of information, so many directions the child is getting. But when the child is anchored properly with the proper foundation which the family has given, like all the family members. I'm not saying only one parent or any a set of parents, even the grandparents, the values, the system, the family system, what has been given as a foundation. If the child is properly anchored in there, definitely wherever the child goes, whichever field or whichever direction the child takes, definitely child will be a very good healthy person.
Thank you, Ashwini ji. That I think has been a very fruitful conversation, something that will provide some valuable guidance to parents in this fast changing world in which, as you said, we as adults are sometimes refugees. In fact, this gap is being felt more and more because the world has changed at a very rapid pace. Yes. I have sometimes talked to 30-year-olds and they say they feel a generation gap with the 15-year-olds. Oh. So the generation gap earlier was thought to be typically 30 years. Now, even when the difference is just 15 years, they're feeling that this generation is so different, it's weird compared to the way we grew up. 30-year-olds are talking about that. Oh, the world is really changing fast, but then human beings have repeatedly shown that resilience that they can cope with change, and people like you are there to guide and help facilitating that change so that the world changes and we are able to use that change constructively and positively rather than become victims of the change that we ourselves have introduced. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.